This is possibly going to be the laziest vlog anyone has ever posted. Obviously, I'm in bed. My 4-year-old is sleeping beside me. It's like late in the day. Around about 4:30, 5 a.m. this morning, I woke up to like banging, what I thought was banging on my door, and the doorbell ringing, and I kind of was like, nah, I don't really think that's my apartment. Maybe it's like the... And then, so I kind of was like half falling back asleep, and then I hear yelling, like, you know, you need to wake up, get up. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I open the door, dressed just like this, and there's a lady at the door, and she's frantic, and she's like, is your apartment on fire? And I'm like, what? No. And then I'm just like, I could smell the smoke, and I'm like, oh shit. My apartment's on the top floor, and there's one apartment next door to mine in our little secure area, and I realized, and she realized, she said, I think it's coming from that apartment. And so we both like were trying to knock on the door, and she said she'd been knocking for ages and there was no answer. And then I was like, have you called 911? And she's like, no, I can't find my phone, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, the smoke smell just gets worse. I don't know if it was just because I'd been standing out in the hallway a bit longer, but at this point, with them not answering the door and I can like smell the smoke, I'm like, all right, like, so I yell at my 3 kids to get down the stairs, because even though like I couldn't feel any heat or anything like that, the last thing I wanted to have happen was us get trapped in a top floor apartment, you know. So I told my kids to get outside, and I ran back into my apartment to grab my car keys and my phone, and I stood there and I was like trying to bang on the door for a bit longer. At this point, like, I can see the apartments downstairs are like, everyone can smell the smoke, and everyone's like dragging their kids out of bed, and you know, so it kind of freaked me out. But also at this point, like, I'm like, has like realized that no one has called 911, and I get that, you know, you don't want to be the one to have to do that, but I ended up having to call. So I call and I explain to them what's going on, and I'm kind of stressed out at this point. I haven't been living here very long, so I'm trying to remember like my street address and explain to them that it's... And so they were really good. They're like, okay, just don't go back in the building. And my other neighbor was like knocking on windows downstairs to tell people to get out, and you know, we just waited. The fire brigade were here so quickly, so they come and go and get into the apartment. However, firemen do that, and I don't know, they were in there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then they come down the stairs with this fucking smoking, flaming like pan, and they just dump it out the front of our apartment and like put the lid on it, and then they ended up having... I asked them, I was like, are the people in the apartment? And they're like, no. And they're like, is this your pan? And I'm like, no, it's not my fucking apartment. Like, I'm not stupid. I think he was just like joking around with me, but they were all laughing about it. And I get it. Like, they have a hard job, firefighters, and to come and like see it's like someone's left a pan on the stove. But the thing is, like, my neighbors weren't in their apartment, so, and I still don't know if they're home or whatever. And like, I can't believe how much smoke there was from a pan. And like, even my apartment, which is the one right next door to the one with the pan, it just smells like smoke and like burnt food. But I just wonder what would happen if like I hadn't woken. And so it just makes like, I'm really freaking out, because it's like, what if I hadn't been home? Like, could it, like, what would have happened? You know, but I mean, it didn't, so whatever. I'm always like freaked out about fire safety, and especially living in an apartment now. I've only been living here since the beginning of the month, And yeah, I'm gonna need a plan to get out of the apartment if I. So I mean, it's good that nothing bad happened. It just like has rattled me a bit, and I feel bad for the neighbor who left the pan on the stove. I really didn't want to have to call the fire department, but I feel like you can't really take a chance when the smoke is that bad. It's like waking people up, even though it was only a pan. I just hope they don't get hit with a huge bill or anything like that, but I just wish they hadn't left the pan on the stove. And I wonder how long they were gone.